Okay, folks, this is this last witness. We're going to leave that right where it is right now because there's some technical matters that have to be worked out, communication issues, and that should be easily resolved, and we'll get that taken care of. And then in the meantime, we're going to bring another witness up so as not to waste the time. Okay.
The state calls Corey Washington.
Give this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
You may be seated.
Good afternoon.
How's it going?
Could you make sure you pull that microphone really close so we can hear you well?
Sure.
Could you state your name for the record and spell your first and last name?
Corey Washington. Corey spelled Koerrri. Washington is Washington.
What is your current employment?
I'm self-employed.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm social media influencer.
And would that include doing live streams on Facebook?
Yes.
Now, do you live here in Kenosha?
Yeah.
How long have you lived here?
My entire life, I was born and raised here.
And did you go to school here?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
Starting from elementary school.
Middle school and high school.
I went to Washington Middle School, Ruther and ITA.
And you mentioned that you do some work on social media. Were you involved in doing some live streaming on the night of August 25th, 2020?
Yes.
Why were you out there doing that on that particular night?
There was a lot happening in the city.
What was your purpose in trying to document that?
Just create transparency.
What do you mean by that?
When things are going on, there's a bunch of opinions. You never know, what really might happen. So people like myself tend to go out and document situations just so there's a record of things. A lot of the time, especially, the media, there's sound bites and things that can be utilized. And in my opinion, people like myself make things better for everyone because it helps show at least another side of the full picture.
Now, tell us what was going on in Kenosha around the time period of August 25th, 2020, in your own words.
There was a lot of protesting. There was a lot of property damage that ended up happening throughout the week. Some would say riots, civil unrest. Some would say uprising.
Would it be fair to say that began after the shooting of Jacob Blake on Sunday night, August 23rd?
It definitely began after the shooting of Jacob Blake.
When did you personally begin your process of live streaming or documenting what was going on?
The night the shooting of Jacob Blake took place.
Sunday night?
Yes, Sunday night.
Tell us about what you did.
Starting from the beginning.
On that particular night after the shooting, I assume you made some sort of decision, I need to be out there taking video?
I mean, it was a Sunday night. Typically, I try not to work on Sundays. I had just taken a lady friend of mine to dinner. We got back, I received a phone call, received a message with a video, saw the video. They said, hey, we're probably going to need you to come document. And I was like, of course. So I just went out, went to the location where the shooting took place, kind of just watched and documented as people kind of gathered onto the scene and as things kind of progressed throughout the night.
Do you recall approximately how long you spent out there that night?
Several hours.
All in the area near where the shooting occurred?
No. So, the shooting occurred. There was, bedlam took place. The police ended up leaving. A march ensued. I followed the protesters to the courthouse here and the safety center and kind of just followed along wherever everything was kind of taking place.
Tell us in your own words what you observed about what was going on with the protests and things like that.
From that point,
Let's start with that first evening, Sunday night. You said there was a march from the site of the shooting to this area. What did you observe?
So, well, when I arrived on the scene, there was a crowd already there. It wasn't too large of a crowd, but over a period of a few hours, the crowd began getting larger and larger and larger. You could start seeing license plates and people from out of town showing up on the scene. Once there was, I'd say, too many people, I guess, for the sheriff's department to handle in that location. They spoke with the gentleman. After they spoke with him, I guess they decided to leave. They came back to the police station, and then afterwards, the crowd was there, and they're like, all right, let's head to the courthouse. So I just followed along the way.
By the time the crowd got to this area by the courthouse, can you give us an estimate of how many people were involved?
A few hundred people, maybe. It's hard to say. It was, by that time, it's incredibly dark outside. There is a heavy police presence. I believe by the time the protesters got to the location, there was already, I believe, police from neighboring counties and cities already here to help. So to me, I'm maybe 500 people. I'm not sure off top. There was definitely a lot of people over time, and it kind of seemed to just kind of keep growing as things progressed throughout the night.
Now, once the crowd got into this area by the courthouse, did they primarily stay here, or did the action move elsewhere?
So as far as I could tell, initially things kind of remained outside of the safety center building. There was a lot of, sheriffs and police in riot gear kind of lined up. There were protesters kind of going back and forth with police officers, things of that nature. At a certain point, I don't know what happened. There was like tear gas deployed. People kind of started, spreading out. People were getting shot with rubber bullets. I had got shot and stuff like that too at the time of all of the disbursement. Took a few minutes to kind of, gather myself, got some attention, someone kind of patched me up or whatever. Get out, out here to face Civic Center Park, right out in front of the courthouse here. And that's when I kind of noticed things were, I guess you could say, out of control. Throughout the entire summer, there had been a lot of protests going on, activists kind of going out, peacefully protesting, letting their voices be heard. So I was out, documenting all of that. But the moment when I came out and we had the roads blocked off with the garbage trucks or whatever, kind of to, I guess, contain the crowd or whatnot. But when I came out, I noticed all of the garbage trucks were on fire. That was kind of the point where I was like, oh, all right, this is not like anything that's been going on all summer. So,
did you see other incidences of property damage after that?
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that?
There was a lot that was kind of going on. There was people, of course, the trucks were on fire. I filmed someone going into the back of a truck probably a few minutes after it had exploded from the gasoline catching fire, going to the back trying to find debris or something to, break windows or whatever it may be. Captured someone throw, it seemed like a napalm or something, onto the courthouse. That got extinguished. And then there was another point where, some masked individuals in black were trying to burn down the dinosaur museum. So, for the most part, I try to not involve myself. The situation with the dinosaur museum, I involved myself in the situation just because, we don't have much stuff around here, and I'm a father, I have kids, I've grown up, I've gone to the dinosaur museum. So at that point, I kind of realized, I suppose, it was not like, this is getting way too out of hand, not saying that I condone people, being aggressive towards police or the courthouse or anything like that. But I could understand their grievances, I suppose, in the situation. But when it started leaking out to other stuff, like the dinosaur museum and stuff like that, that's when I was like, okay, well, this is...
The dinosaurs didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything that was going on.
What did you do to involve yourself in that situation? You said you did with the dinosaur museum?
I stepped up. I kind of shouted at the crowd, like, hey, like, what are you doing? Kind of slightly interrogated one of the people that I assumed was involved. He seemed pretty passionate about burning it down or whatever it may be. And from there, kind of people in the crowd, I guess, I don't know, kind of were like, hey, yeah, he's kind of making a point or whatever. And then from there was kind of a dispute, and I kind of found a way to kind of get myself out of the situation because it seemed to be getting pretty heated. So.
Did you observe any property damage that first night, Sunday night, in any other parts of Kenosha?
Objection to relevance to the 23rd.
What's your response?
Well, I think first of all, it lays sort of the context of the whole situation. But second of all, there's been a lot of allusion to the fact that the defendant was motivated to come down here in response to this. So I think it's important that we get evidence about what it was that was going on. You may continue.
So for the most part, of course, there was people that kind of trickled into other areas. But as far as I was able to see and document for the time that I was out there, which was quite a while, most people were kind of staying together in the same group, in the larger group. But of course, in a hot situation like that, of course, there's going to be people with their own motives and objectives that may go out and do other things as well.
So I guess my question was, did you personally witness property damage along, say, 22nd Avenue, for example, or 60th Street, or any other parts of town that night?
No, not that I recall. Of course, when the march was happening from the location of the shooting to the courthouse, I mean, there was, traffic stoppages and things of that nature, but people weren't being violent with random pedestrians or anything like that. It was really just like a march to this area.
Okay.
And until we got over here, that's when actual damage started taking place.
Now, I believe you indicated that there were times during the summer where you were out recording people who were letting their voices be heard here in Kenosha. Is that fair to say?
Yep, multiple times a week.
Did you kind of get an idea of who kind of the main people were involved in those sorts of events?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, yes.
On this Sunday night, after Jacob Blake was shot,
Right.
did there appear to be a different type of crowd to you?
Yes. So in my opinion, so initially, the people that were on the scene are familiar faces. As things got more and more heated and more people started showing up, faces started to become more unfamiliar. I noticed at a certain point, I know for a fact the gentleman that talked to the sheriff before the sheriff's department and the police department ended up leaving was a gentleman, I believe, from Black Lives Matter, Milwaukee. But I had not seen him before, and I mean, if you review some of my footage, I recall saying several times, like, who is this guy? Why are they talking to this guy, to kind of figure out what's going on? Because at the end of the day, most of these people seem to just be people that are passionate about what happened, but not organized at all. So.
And when you were out on that Sunday night, were you live streaming on Facebook?
Hmm? Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Is it possible for folks to still
Yes.
go up and see that on your Facebook
Yep,
page?
everything that I've ever recorded, unless it was taken down by Facebook, I haven't received any notice that anything has been pulled, it's all live on my Facebook.
So let's fast forward to the next night, Monday night, the second night of protests and whatnot. Were you out live streaming that night?
Yes.
How would you characterize the events of Monday night as compared to Sunday night?
So at nighttime, I would say maybe it's worse because there was more people here. It seemed, in my opinion, it just seemed that it was, I guess, the best case scenario for something like this to happen, just with everything that was going on in the nation. There was a giant migration from the west headed to Washington. The situation with George Floyd was hot in Minnesota, and people were kind of close to get here. I'm sure everyone knows there's plenty of people from Minnesota that ended up in Kenosha that night and the following nights. The next night, that Monday night, there was protests and things throughout the day. As far as I recall and remember, during the day everything was peaceful. There was talks of, hey, like, we can't allow stuff like that went on before to go on again. But as nightfall comes, there's more mysterious people in the city. You don't really know, everybody, and again, everybody has their own motives really in a situation like that. So you definitely could tell that there was plenty of people being, I suppose, opportunistic about the situation.
Some of the more noteworthy instances of property damage during all this, I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. The Car Source lot over on the east side of Sheridan burned one of these nights. Are you personally familiar with that?
Yes.
Did you witness any of that? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes?
Yes.
What night was that? Do you recall?
I believe it was Monday night.
There was also a lot of damage to the uptown area along 22nd Avenue.
Yes.
Did you witness any of that?
Yes.
Do you remember which night that was?
I believe that was Monday night as well.
And then I know the probation and parole office on 60th Street burned down. Do you remember if that was Monday night as well?
I believe it was. Again, I'm sorry, I don't, it's not something that I necessarily really wanted to go back and review several hours of, with everything that kind of transpired. So I believe it was more than likely that Monday night. I know for sure when the parole office burned down, I was there. I saw people go into it. I heard people say, let's burn down the parole office, and witnessed it on fire.
So
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
witnessed it on
And
fire.
witnessed it on fire.
So let's go to the night of Tuesday night, August 25th, 2020, the night when the events of this case occurred. Were
Right.
you out live streaming that night as well?
Yes, I was.
And how would you compare Tuesday night to the previous couple of nights?
I would say it was calmer, much calmer. The crowd was more contained. There was a march that happened. That kind of ended towards the end of the night, maybe around 6:30 or 7 or so. That ended at Civic Center Park. The conversation that was had at the end of the march was, hey, everybody remain peaceful. Go home after this if if you're seriously about wanting change and wanting justice, to go home. After that was said, people dispersed. A lot of people did go home, but there was people that didn't go home, of course. When those people that didn't go home, they kind of stayed there at Civic Center Park there until at a certain point they were kind of driven out of the park.
Were you there to witness the interactions between those people in Civic Center Park and the police at this particular scene?
Yes.
On that night?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that there were some fairly violent confrontations between the protesters and the police right outside of this courthouse that night? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Other than that, were you checking around the area to see whether there was property damage in other parts of the downtown area that night?
Yes, so I generally what I would do, I would always kind of survey the area to see what was kind of going on. I'd find the crowd, figure out where the crowd was, see what they're doing, kind of go in the general area around, a couple block radius or whatever it may be.
So when you were watching the crowd that Tuesday night, other than the demonstrations out in front of the courthouse, did you witness a lot of other arson, looting, property damage, that sort of thing on that particular night?
No, not on Tuesday night.
Now, there came a time in which you were recording your live stream along Sheridan Avenue, is that right?
Yes, Sheridan Road, yeah.
And are you familiar with the Ultimate gas station?
Yes.
Okay. And that's at 60th and Sheridan, is that right?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that you spent some time that night recording some video?
Yes, yeah.
We're going to have play a portion of your live stream. Could we begin at 18 minutes, please? And this has been marked as exhibit number 11. And I hope so. Let me just make sure that the power's on and everything. No, that doesn't work. That's good. I want to pause for 1 second before we continue. Mr. Washington, what we're seeing on that screen, is that the live stream that you recorded on the night of August 25th?
Yes.
And do you recognize the location that's being shown in that video?
Yes, that's the at the Ultimate gas station facing west,
Okay,
kind
thank-
of looking at the church. I believe it's a church right there.
All right, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to turn the power on, but it may not have kicked on. Oh, I got to hit the input button. Sorry, thank you. Go ahead.
They're about to light up this garbage can. So they got a fire in the street. I got the dumpster, excuse me. So that dumpster's
I'm going to pause 1 more second just to help everybody understand what we're looking at here. First of all, we just heard someone's voice. Was that your voice?
yeah.
Okay.
Muffled because I had a mask on.
Sure, I
don't know what
understand.
sound like that.
Do you have that easel still? I'm just going to have you show us on this map so everybody's oriented to where we're at. I've got a map here of the city, so I just want to have you point out where we're at so that everybody can kind of put it into context.
Okay.
Pointer's right by him.
Oh, yes, right here. We'll have you use this.
okay.
This little button here.
The pointer will not, okay.
All right, Mr. Washington, I've got a map up of the downtown area of Kenosha. Can you please point out where the Ultimate gas station is? Okay, and that is at the intersection of the southeast corner of 60th and Sheridan. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The video we were just watching, which disappeared for a second, but is back.
Hold on. Is that where the Methodist church is?
I was just going to ask that question.
No. Southeast of 60th and Sheridan. At least when I went past it on my way here this morning, I thought that was the Methodist church.
So, Judge, the southeast corner is Ultimate Gas. The southwest corner is First United. On this map, north is up.
Did you see 60th and Sheridan?
I did.
What am I doing wrong?
I agree, Your Honor, that the Ultimate's in the southeast. I don't want to disagree with you, but the Ultimate is the southeast corner.
Where have the Methodists been going to church?
That's across the street, Judge.
Southwest corner.
All right, I'm going to accept the correction.
So, Mr. Washington, just so we understand, you had described in your video that at one point, and I think at this point as we look, is that video now pointed west?
Yes.
And on the map there, it indicates that the Methodist Church is across the street to the west of Ultimate Gas. Is that right?
Yep, right there.
Okay.
That's what I said, isn't it?
Of course, Your Honor. Of course. Please continue. Thank you.
Yeah, that dumpster is about to be lit up.
a second here because we're going to be viewing someone that I want to talk a little bit about. I assume since the night of August 25th, 2020, you're aware of who Joseph Rosenbaum is. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And let me just put you back in the state of mind of that particular night. As of August 25th, 2020, did you know who he was?
No.
To your knowledge, had you ever encountered him before in your life?
No.
Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with this video or not, but for the benefit of the jury, do you know? Are you able to recognize Mr. Rosenbaum in this video? He's not shown on the screen at this very moment because we paused a little bit. I didn't call timeout.
Oh.
It was a little later. But let me just ask generally, are you able to recognize him if you see him on the screen?
Yeah, I would know what he looks like, yes.
And that's based on what you've learned since all this happened?
Yes.
Okay. And just, I don't think there'll be any dispute about this. I'll represent for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that Mr. Rosenbaum is wearing a red shirt. He's got some, I think they're jean shorts, aren't they? And I don't think he's got anything, I don't think he's got anything on his head at this point, does he? Okay. So he's kind of a shorter gentleman with nothing on his head, a red shirt. And you've got some video of him that we're going to see momentarily, so I wanted to let the jury know that so as we're watching, you know what to look for. So go ahead. Thank you.
Probably not the smartest. Yo, don't throw shit over here, bro. They about to. Bro. I'm not trying to get fucking shot. Yeah, bro.
Stop throwing shit!
People ready to fire on people, bro. We got people in position.
He's so happy with that gun. He's too excited. Take that motherfucking gun from him. Take that gun from him. Fuck, he look like he want to shoot somebody. Fuck, anybody doing shit.
He finna shoot them. He ain't trying to shoot them.
Pause for a second there, Mr. Washington. What you're seeing on the screen there, with all the people and all the action on that screen, at any point during this particular incident that we're watching, did anyone fire a gun?
No.
Did you see anyone get physically injured in any way?
No.
Please continue.
Asshole. You too excited. You too happy, motherfucker. You too happy. You too happy with a motherfucker. Yeah, because it's
they're not about to just let you just.
Them streets,
too happy. See? Bitch, get your son.
So it looks like the cops are leaving now.
Hey!
Looks like the cops are now leaving. Yo, don't. Come on, bro. What are y'all doing, bro? Yo, bro. Come on, bro. Shit is fucking. Come on, bro.
I got a son like this too. I'm just ain't clearing mine.
Exactly.
Damn, dude.
I'm gonna shoot mine. If I bring mine now, we're gonna get shot.
Cops left, and as soon as they left, things just got heated. I'm not about to stand. in a line of fire at all. That's not gonna be good. No, I'm good, man. Yeah, dude. Rocks. So they headed back. Definitely people throwing rocks. Be careful. Careful, because they're throwing rocks. Hey, how's it going? Good. It says.
Shaking in his boots right now, ready to pull up his gun and shoot. It's just escalating. I'm scared. I don't know who these
Corey, how long have you been here? For a bit. Wow.
Tony, hey! Yo, they trying to circle us in! They trying to circle us in! Kyle's right there, they're circling us in! Y'all worried about the wrong shit right now? this gas station all the time, so hopefully it'll be fun. This is where I get cash out of the ATM, because across the street it's more expensive.
Everyone needs to calm the fuck down.
Indeed,
I was
bro.
literally saying that, and bitches got in my face. I'm like, bro, I was the one saying everyone calm down.
Everybody's just gonna have to agree to disagree, I think, man.
Mr. Washington, in that excerpt we just watched, I saw a number of individuals that were armed. Did you see that as well?
Yes.
And what was your understanding of what their purpose was out there that evening? If you have one.
I mean, honestly, I didn't talk to everyone individually, so I mean, it's
If you
hard
don't
to
know, that's
really
fine.
answer that.
Sure. It appeared to me that there were folks that had long rifles, like AR-15s. Are you familiar with those at all?
Yeah.
Did you see folks at the Ultimate gas station armed with that type of rifle?
Yes.
How many would you estimate you saw?
Consistently at like one time or throughout a period of time?
One time, that were all there. at one time.
Maybe like 24, maybe a little more, something like that. Anywhere, but I'd say between 15 to 25 people.
And in the videos we saw there, or the section we just saw, it appeared that there were people kind of getting in the face or getting aggressive with some of those folks that were armed. Did you see that?
Yes, so as far as I recall, there was a lot of discourse happening, heated discourse, but conversations being had.
Did you see that lead to any violence? Anybody punch one another, shoving each other, shooting at one another, anything along those lines?
No, maybe there may have been nudging or something, not that I recall seeing, but nothing that would make you stop and direct your attention to it.
And I believe in that section we just watched, I saw two separate instances of dumpsters being set on fire. Did you see those as well?
Yes.
I don't know if that was the same dumpster twice or two
I
separate.
believe it may have been the same dumpster.
Okay. And other than that being a perfect metaphor for the year 2020, did you see any property damage as a result of the dumpster fires?
No, as far as I recall, the dumpster was lit on fire because the police pulled up in an MRAP, and it seemed like protesters were like shoving it towards the police. It didn't seem like they were trying to destroy buildings with it or blow up the gas station or anything like that. There was a lot of people there. I don't know if people would let them do that.
And I want to ask that specifically because you're standing right next to the gas pumps in the video. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you feel like that
No.
was an unsafe place based on the dumpster fire and anything like that?
No.
Did you see anyone ever push anything on fire towards the gas pumps?
No.
Okay. When you were doing your live stream, were there folks watching that you were aware of?
Yes.
Were you able to respond to them or communicate with them as the live stream was going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Throughout, I'm sorry to cut you off. That's why throughout like the live stream, I mentioned like going to the ultimate gas station to get cash out of the ATM. There was always viewers, some people from town, some people from out of town, some people with questions and stuff like that. There was a lot of when we had protests for, I guess the big protest for George Floyd earlier in, I believe, May of 2020, there was a lot of disinformation that was going on. So what I generally do with my live streams is I look to the chat to see if there's things going on in certain areas, to see if people are spilling out somewhere, to see if things are actually happening somewhere, or to kind of quash false rumors or whatever.
Your Honor, I do have an excerpt that I'm going to play next that's probably going to be about 12 or 13 minutes long. I don't know if you want to take a break now and continue in the morning.
Are we going to? Will we end up breaking afterwards, and without this witness being complete?
Well, I may be done with my direct at that point. I'm not sure.
Well, we have to have him back for cross anyway. So
Yeah.
let's break for the date. And please don't talk about the case overnight. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. We'll start again tomorrow at 9 and hopefully get right at it. And what? The clerk will talk to you about tomorrow arrangements. And I'm sorry, Mr. Washington, you can step down. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, I'm going to ask that everybody leave the room right away, except for, pardon me? Well, or they can stay here. These people have to, all right, whatever you say. I'm going to turn it over to you. All right, thank you. The jurors, the clerk wants to talk to them.
Do you want them to go upstairs, Becky?
Or do you want them in here? It's probably easier. Well, it's easier in here, but I don't know. How long is it going to take the media to scatter? Can I talk to you photographers for a minute?
We have an issue with regarding firearms that have been marked and admitted as exhibits.
Okay, would you? Yeah, that's probably the best. All right, you can go up to the jury room, please, and the clerk will deal with your issues.
What would you like us to do with it? We got it.
Give them back to the place. Any objection to the police holding those pending the outcome of the trial? Okay. Or maybe you could just.
The one juror's going to go up by elevator, I'm assuming? Do we have all the headsets back? close that door? I'm not sure. I guess. Oh. I thought-
Sean and Mark, I'm going to ask that you guys, and of course I already spoke about the shooting over the tree. Can you not do any of these perp walk type things when witnesses come up? And you can take them on the stand, no problem. But wait till they're on the stand and then take them.
Of course.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Usually done.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.